far beyond the calm blue horizons of the Atlantic, where icy winds sweep across endless gray waters, lies one of the most dangerous and least forgiving regions on Earth, the Northern Sea. This vast expanse, stretching between the coasts of northern Europe and the Arctic Circle, is a place where beauty and peril coexist. The Northern Sea is both a wonder of nature and a stage of unimaginable danger, a realm where storms rise like mountains, where ships vanish without warning, and where human endurance is tested against the raw forces of nature. For centuries, the Northern Sea has fascinated explorers, sailors, and scientists alike. It is often called the sea that never sleeps, a restless body of water where waves can reach heights of over 20 meters and winds can exceed 150 kilometers per hour. This region connects the North Atlantic Ocean with the Arctic Ocean, encompassing seas like the Norwegian Sea, Barents Sea, and parts of the Greenland Sea. Together, they form one of the most treacherous maritime corridors in the world. Historically, this sea has been both a blessing and a curse. It has provided Europe with rich fishing grounds and vital shipping routes, yet it has claimed thousands of lives in return. From the Viking Age to modern times, stories of shipwrecks, freezing storms, and mysterious disappearances have surrounded the Northern Sea like a ghostly fog. Even in today's age of advanced technology, the Northern Sea remains a danger zone. Modern radar, satellite tracking, and icebreakers can only do so much when nature unleashes its fury. The cold, the darkness, and the unpredictability of the region make it one of the last true frontiers of the natural world. 2. Geography of peril, the shape of danger. To understand why the Northern Sea is so deadly, one must first understand its geography. The Northern Sea lies above 60 degrees north latitude, bordered by the British Isles, Norway, Iceland, Greenland, and Russia's northern coast. Beneath its cold surface lie some of the most complex underwater landscapes on Earth, a maze of ridges, trenches, and continental shelves. One of the most significant areas is the Barents Sea, located north of Norway and Russia. It's often described as the gateway to the Arctic, but this gateway is guarded by deadly ice flows, fog banks, and unpredictable weather patterns. Temperatures in winter can drop below 30 degrees C, and visibility can disappear within minutes due to blinding snowstorms known as whiteouts. In the east, the Kara Sea and Laptev Sea freeze solid for most of the year, creating vast sheets of drifting ice that crush anything in their path. In the west, the Norwegian Sea remains ice-free due to the warm current of the North Atlantic Drift, but this warmth comes at a cost. It fuels violent storms and cyclones that strike without warning. Beneath these waters, the seafloor is a landscape of hidden danger. There are underwater ridges such as the Mid-Atlantic Ridge and Lomonosov Ridge, which cause unusual currents and unpredictable wave patterns. Submarine mountains rise and fall beneath the surface, creating turbulent zones that can capsize vessels. The seabed is also dotted with natural methane gas pockets, remnants of ancient organic matter, that can suddenly erupt, releasing giant bubbles capable of destabilizing ships and submarines. Adding to this danger is the magnetic disturbance in the high northern latitudes. Compass readings often become unreliable due to proximity to the magnetic North Pole. For early explorers, this caused catastrophic navigational errors. Even today, magnetic interference and satellite signal loss continue to challenge aircraft and maritime vessels in the region. 3. Nature's fury, storms, ice, and darkness. If geography forms the bones of the Northern Sea's danger, then its weather provides the flesh, cold, fierce, and merciless. The storms. The Northern Sea is home to some of the most powerful storms on the planet. These are not ordinary ocean tempests. They are polar cyclones, formed when freezing Arctic air collides with the warm currents of the Atlantic. Within hours, calm waters can transform into chaos. Waves the height of 6-story buildings crash over decks. Winds roar like wild beasts, tearing apart steel and human courage alike. In the Norwegian Sea, such storms have been known to last for weeks, blocking all maritime travel. The sudden pressure drops cause waves known as rogue waves, towering walls of water that appear from nowhere and disappear just as fast. In 1995, the Dropner wave, recorded off the coast of Norway, reached nearly 26 meters high, the first confirmed rogue wave in history. It was so powerful that it changed how scientists understand ocean physics. The ice. Then comes the other enemy, ice. In winter, entire sections of the Northern Sea freeze over. Ships trapped in these moving glaciers are slowly crushed as the ice closes around them. The story of the Russian ship, St. Anna, lost in 1914 in the Kara Sea, is one of many tragedies. The crew became frozen in drifting pack ice and vanished into history. Only fragments of their journals were later found, describing unbearable cold, isolation, and slow despair. Icebergs, too, pose a deadly threat. Born from melting glaciers in Greenland and the Arctic, they drift silently into shipping lanes, almost invisible in fog and darkness. These floating giants are what doomed the Titanic in 1912. Though technically south of the main Arctic zone, it was the same cold current system that carried the iceberg into the path of disaster. The darkness. And then there is darkness itself. For nearly half the year, the Northern Sea is wrapped in polar night, a time when the sun never rises above the horizon. The world turns into a black mirror, where the sea and sky blend into one endless void. In this eternal night, disorientation becomes deadly. Pilots lose sight of the horizon, and ships can drift for days without recognizing their position. Even the human mind begins to falter under such conditions. Hallucinations, depression, and polar madness have been reported among isolated crews. In this world of ice and shadow, survival depends on experience, preparation, and luck, and even then, luck often runs out. The magnetic mystery zone, when compasses go mad. The Northern Sea is not only home to violent storms and freezing ice, it also hides invisible forces that confuse even the most advanced navigation systems. Near the magnetic North Pole, ordinary instruments begin to betray their users. Compasses swing wildly, GPS signals distort, radar echoes fade into static. This phenomenon has earned certain areas the haunting title, the magnetic mystery zone. Sailors have reported such anomalies for centuries. Early Arctic explorers like Fridtjof Nansen and Ernest Shackleton described moments when their compasses pointed east instead of north, or spun without direction. The cause lies deep within Earth's molten core, a swirling ocean of liquid iron that generates the planet's magnetic field. Near the poles, magnetic lines converge and twist violently, creating regions where the field's strength fluctuates unpredictably. For ships in the Northern Sea, this means chaos. A small error in direction can send a vessel hundreds of kilometers off course. Aircraft crossing polar routes sometimes experience magnetic blackout zones, where autopilot systems lose reference, forcing pilots to rely solely on manual sight navigation. Even satellites are affected. The polar electrojets, rivers of charged particles flowing through Earth's upper atmosphere, can disrupt communication, radar, and power grids. One of the most baffling modern incidents occurred in 2003, when a Russian research submarine temporarily lost orientation north of Svalbard. Its digital compass and sonar both failed simultaneously for almost 20 minutes. When power returned, the submarine was facing completely opposite to its intended course. No mechanical fault was found. Scientists attributed the malfunction to geomagnetic interference, but many on board swore they had entered a magnetic storm, unlike anything they had experienced before. Such phenomena remind us that the Northern Sea is more than a physical landscape. It's a zone where nature's invisible forces rule supreme. 5. The underwater secrets, methane death traps, and hidden worlds. Beneath the frozen waves of the Northern Sea lies a world just as dangerous as the one above. A dark, silent kingdom of pressure, methane, and geological instability. Modern sonar mapping has revealed hundreds of methane hydrate deposits, frozen gas trapped within layers of seabed ice. These deposits form over thousands of years, but when the temperature rises even slightly, they can explode violently. Scientists call them methane blowouts, and they are believed to have caused several mysterious ship sinkings throughout Arctic history. When a blowout occurs, large bubbles of gas rise rapidly to the surface. If a ship happens to be above the eruption point, the density of water beneath it suddenly drops, and the vessel loses buoyancy, sinking almost instantly without leaving debris or oil slicks. In 2014, a Norwegian research team discovered dozens of massive craters on the floor of the Barents Sea, some nearly 1 kilometer wide, created by ancient methane explosions. These were not caused by meteor impacts or volcanoes, but by pressurized gas bursting from below. Geologist Karin Andresen, who led the expedition, called it a reminder that the Arctic seafloor is still alive and unstable. The Northern Sea's depths also guard war-era relics, from World War II submarines to Cold War nuclear waste. More than 300 shipwrecks rest beneath these waters, many still leaking oil, chemicals, or even radioactive materials. Near Novaya Zemlya, the Soviet Union conducted nuclear tests in the 1950s and 1960s. Radioactive debris sank into the sea, and some scientists fear it may still pose an ecological threat. At least 5 nuclear submarines, both Soviet and Western, are believed to lie in Arctic waters. The K-159, a Russian submarine lost in 2003, still contains 2 nuclear reactors. Its wreck lies about 240 meters deep in the Barents Sea, corroding slowly under saltwater pressure. These submerged relics make the Northern Sea not only a natural danger zone, but also a human-made ticking time bomb, where pollution, radiation, and climate change converge. 6 war and wrecks beneath the waves. If one listens carefully in the silent depths of the Northern Sea, it seems almost possible to hear echoes of its violent past. The thunder of torpedoes, the roar of storms, and the cries of lost sailors. During World War II, the Northern Sea was a crucial battlefield. Allied convoys carried supplies from Britain to Russia through the Arctic route, under constant attack from German submarines and aircraft. These missions were called the Arctic convoys, and they passed directly through what we now call the Northern Sea danger zone. Conditions were nightmarish: freezing temperatures, high seas, and 24-hour darkness in winter. Ships were often covered in ice so thick that crews had to smash it off with hammers to prevent the vessel from capsizing. German U-boats lurked beneath the waves, waiting to strike. Between 1941 and 1945, more than 100 Allied ships and thousands of men were lost in these waters. One of the most infamous disasters was the sinking of the HMS Edinburgh in 1942. The cruiser was carrying gold bullion from the Soviet Union to Britain when it was torpedoed in the Barents Sea. Despite desperate rescue efforts, the ship went down in icy waters, its treasure lost for nearly 40 years until it was recovered in 1981. Even today, underwater drones continue to discover new wrecks across the Northern Sea floor. The region's cold, oxygen-poor environment preserves metal and wood, turning the seabed into a ghostly museum of war. Rusting submarines, shattered destroyers, and forgotten cargo ships lie entombed in eternal darkness, silent witnesses to a time when the Northern Sea was a highway of death. In the Cold War era, the region remained militarized. The Soviet Northern Fleet patrolled the Barents and Kara Seas, while NATO surveillance planes circled above. In 1989, the Soviet submarine Komsomolets caught fire and sank southwest of Bear Island, killing 42 crew members. The wreck, resting at a depth of 1,600 meters, still contains a nuclear reactor and 2 nuclear warheads, a potential environmental hazard if corrosion continues. Thus, the Northern Sea is not only shaped by nature's power, but also haunted by human conflict. Every wreck beneath those waves tells a story of courage, fear, and sacrifice. And every one of them reminds us that this sea demands respect from all who dare to cross it. Modern dangers, climate change, and the new Arctic frontier. In the 21st century, the Northern Sea is changing faster than at any time in recorded history. The same frozen walls that once kept explorers away are now melting, unlocking new possibilities, but also new perils. The Arctic is warming, nearly 4 times the global average rate. As sea ice retreats, shipping lanes like the Northern Sea Route and Northwest Passage are opening up for the first time in human history. To global trade companies, this is a dream: shorter routes between Europe and Asia, cutting thousands of kilometers compared to the Suez Canal. But to environmentalists and sailors, it is a nightmare. The melting of the Arctic ice cap has created unpredictable weather systems. Warm air from the south meets freezing northern currents, spawning storms that are stronger and less predictable than ever. The once stable sea ice now breaks apart and drifts unexpectedly, forming hidden traps for ships. Vast icebergs, some the size of cities, calve off Greenland's glaciers and drift into the Northern Sea, threatening the new routes with invisible death. In 2020, a Russian fuel depot near Norilsk collapsed when the permafrost beneath it thawed, spilling thousands of tons of diesel into Arctic rivers. This incident demonstrated how even solid ground is no longer stable in the north, a warning that the entire region, including the Northern Sea, is entering a new and unstable era. Environmental scientists are also concerned about methane release from the seafloor. As water temperatures rise, ancient methane hydrates trapped beneath the seabed begin to thaw, releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, potentially accelerating climate change even further. It is a vicious cycle. Warming causes melting, which causes more warming. But climate change is not the only threat. Increased human activity, oil drilling, cargo shipping, fishing, and tourism has turned this remote region into a stage of industrial risk. Accidents in the Northern Sea are far more dangerous than anywhere else on Earth. Rescue operations can take days, sometimes weeks. A small oil spill in tropical waters may disperse in months, but in Arctic conditions, oil can remain frozen and toxic for decades. The Northern Sea, once nature's fortress, is now humanity's newest frontier, and one we are far from prepared to handle. 8. The human spirit, exploration and survival. Despite the danger, the Northern Sea continues to attract the bravest souls of our time. Explorers, scientists, and sailors who push the limits of endurance in pursuit of knowledge. Each year, research vessels from nations like Norway, Russia, Canada, and the United States venture into these icy waters to study ocean currents, wildlife, and the effects of climate change. They face conditions that can cripple even the most advanced ships: freezing spray that coats decks in ice, shifting pack ice that traps hulls, and storms that turn night into chaos. The story of the Polarstern expedition, 2019-2020, stands as a testament to modern courage. A German icebreaker, the Polarstern, deliberately allowed itself to become frozen into Arctic sea ice so scientists could drift with it for an entire year, studying the Northern Sea from within the heart of the polar winter. Temperatures dropped below 40 degrees C, and the crew endured months of total darkness and isolation. They recorded critical data that changed our understanding of how Arctic systems influence global weather. Beyond science, the Northern Sea has also become a symbol of human perseverance. From the Vikings who first dared to cross it, to the modern navigators guiding ships through frozen mazes, every journey here is a confrontation with fear itself. Technology has improved: GPS, satellites, icebreakers, but the fundamental challenge remains unchanged: survival against an environment that shows no mercy. Even rescue operations in the Northern Sea are among the most dangerous missions in the world. When a vessel sends a distress call, help may be hundreds of kilometers away. Helicopters face limited range due to freezing air. Communication is often broken by geomagnetic storms. Many rescue teams describe it as fighting the planet itself. And yet, people continue to go. Because to face the Northern Sea is to face the edge of human endurance, and to prove that exploration is still part of who we are. 9. Conclusion: the endless call of the North. There is a strange beauty in the Northern Sea's hostility. a beauty that has captivated humankind for centuries. It is a realm of extremes, blinding storms and eternal silence, crushing ice and endless horizons, danger and wonder intertwined. The Northern Sea is not just a place on a map. It is a test of balance between humanity and nature, courage and caution, progress and respect. Throughout history, this sea has taken much from us, lives, ships, and dreams, but it has also given us something deeper: humility. It reminds us that, despite all our technology, there are still places on Earth where nature reigns supreme. Standing on the deck of a ship at twilight, surrounded by frozen waves and the faint shimmer of the aurora borealis, one can feel that humbling truth. The Northern Sea does not belong to us. We are merely visitors. And every time we cross its waters, we are reminded that life itself is a fragile voyage through forces far greater than we can ever control. The danger of the Northern Sea is not only in its storms or ice, it lies in our own overconfidence. It is a mirror that reflects our determination and our recklessness alike. As scientists, explorers, and dreamers continue to venture northward, one lesson must always remain: respect the sea. For the Northern Sea may be cold and distant, but it is alive, watching, changing, and reminding humanity that some frontiers can be explored, but never conquered.